The Harris household has always been a mix of fame, fortune, and fiery family moments, but nothing could prepare fans for the chaos that erupted when news broke about King Harris's shocking prison sentence. Cameras may have captured the glamorous red carpets and the music awards, but behind closed doors, emotions have been spiraling out of control. King, the bold and outspoken son of hip-hop legend T.I. and Tiny, suddenly found himself at the center of a scandal so explosive that even loyal fans could barely believe their eyes. What began as whispers of trouble quickly spiraled into full-blown headlines: King locked up, facing years behind bars, and his father refusing to back down without a fight. Witnesses claim T.I. stormed into the courtroom with fire in his eyes, ready to battle not just the legal system, but anyone who dared to stand in the way of his son's freedom. Tensions exploded, tears were shed, and shocking words were exchanged that left the entire family on the verge of collapse. As fans around the world watched in disbelief, one question lingered: could the King of the South save his own king? Stay tuned, because this story is just getting started. The Harris family had always been under the spotlight, but no one imagined their private turmoil would turn into such a public spectacle. When word spread that King Harris had been arrested and faced serious prison time, fans were stunned. Whispers started in Atlanta, then exploded across social media feeds. One moment, King was posting his usual flashy clips online, bragging about life, jewelry, and cars. The next moment, mugshots surfaced, and the entire internet seemed to hold its breath. Inside the courtroom, the air was thick with tension. King sat stiffly in his chair, eyes darting nervously, but still trying to maintain the tough bravado he had carefully built for himself. Across the aisle, T sat with Tiny, gripping her hands so tightly that their knuckles turned pale. Family members filled the benches, silent but restless. T's face was stone, but anyone who knew him could read the fury behind his eyes. "This ain't justice," T muttered under his breath, shaking his head. Tiny leaned closer, whispering, "Tip, please keep calm. Don't make it worse." But her voice trembled, betraying her own fear. The prosecutor painted King as reckless and defiant, highlighting every misstep he had made in the past year: altercations, viral videos, run-ins with the police. The narrative was brutal, and it stung. Fans online started debating, some defending King as a young man caught up in fame's shadow, others insisting he needed to face consequences. When the judge announced the initial sentence, a gasp echoed through the room. King would be facing years behind bars. Tiny covered her mouth with her hand, sobbing quietly, while T stood up so suddenly that the entire courtroom froze. "You not about to take my son away from me like this?" T's voice thundered, startling even the bailiffs. "This system been waiting to make an example out of him, and I'm not about to sit here and let that happen." The judge warned T to sit down, but T wasn't listening. His anger spilled over, years of frustration with the justice system boiling into this very moment. "My boy ain't perfect, but he's still a child. He needs guidance, not a cage," T continued, pointing toward King. "Y'all don't know what it's like to grow up under these lights, with the whole world watching your every mistake. He's not a criminal, he's my son." King, who had been trying to keep his composure, lowered his head. For the first time, he looked less like a rising star and more like a scared young man caught in a storm too big for him. Back at home, the arguments continued. Tiny pleaded with T to trust the legal process, but T paced the living room like a lion in a cage. "Trust the process. Tiny, the process don't work for us. It never has. You saw how they came at him, like he was already guilty before he even spoke." Tiny wiped her tears, her voice breaking. "I don't want to lose him, Tip. I can't even breathe thinking about my baby in there." Their children overheard the fight, emotions running high in every corner of the house. Some blamed King for bringing this trouble upon himself. Others defended him, insisting he was misunderstood. The family, usually so strong together, was divided. Outside, paparazzi swarmed, capturing every grim expression, every tear-streaked face. Headlines screamed of T's outburst in court, twisting the narrative into chaos. Rapper erupts at judge, one read. Family feud spills over, said another. Fans rush to comment sections, some saying T was a hero for standing up for his son. Others calling him reckless for putting the family's reputation at risk. Amid the noise, King sat alone in his cell. The cold walls felt heavier than any stage lights he had stood under. He replayed his father's words in his head, feeling guilt mixed with pride. Part of him wanted to prove everyone wrong, to show he could rise above this. Another part feared that no matter what he did, the world had already decided who he was. When T visited, the reunion was emotional. King tried to keep his mask on, smirking like he always did, but T saw through it immediately. "You ain't gotta act tough with me," T said softly, sitting across from him. "I know you hurting." King hesitated, then whispered, "I messed up, Pops. I ain't mean for it to go this far, but they act like I'm some monster." His voice cracked, and T leaned in closer. "Listen to me," T said firmly. His eyes locked on his son's. "They gone try to break you down, but you got my blood in you. You stronger than this. And I swear on everything I love, I ain't stopping till you're back home." Those words sparked something in King, a flicker of hope. But the road ahead was already paved with obstacles. T's fight for his son's freedom was just beginning. It was about to take turns no one could have predicted. Because outside those prison walls, forces were already moving. Critics sharpening their knives, fans taking sides, and family bonds straining under the weight of endless pressure. Whispers of betrayal, of deals being made behind closed doors, began to stir. And T, for all his determination, had no idea just how deep the drama was about to go. The Harris family's nightmare was far from over. In fact, it was only the beginning. The tension in the Harris household grew thicker with every passing day. Tiny barely slept, her phone constantly buzzing with messages from friends, family, and even strangers who thought they knew what was best for her son. Some offered prayers, some offered criticism, and others just wanted gossip. Every time she scrolled, her chest tightened. "I can't do this," Tiny whispered one night, sitting at the edge of her bed with tears in her eyes. "I can't watch him suffer in there while everybody out here picks him apart like he's some kind of headline." T, who sat across from her at the table, leaned forward. His voice was calmer than before, but his eyes still burned with frustration. "Baby, we ain't got no choice but to fight. The system already stacked against him. But if I back down now, they've gone bury him alive." Tiny shook her head. "But fighting like this, it's tearing us apart. You going off on the judge, the cameras catching every word, every move. People saying you making it worse." T slammed his fist against the table, startling her. "I don't care what people say. Let them talk. Let the cameras roll. This is my son's life we talking about." Outside their home, the chaos was spiraling. Reporters camped outside, desperate for a soundbite. Neighbors peeked through blinds, and fans gathered with posters shouting their support or anger. King's arrest had turned into more than just a legal case. It was a full-blown spectacle. Meanwhile, King's siblings felt the pressure too. Zonique posted a cryptic message on her social media. "Family over everything." But sometimes family feels like everything falling apart instantly. The post went viral, with fans dissecting every word, wondering if she was hinting at a rift between her and her father, Domani. Usually quiet and reserved, finally spoke out in a live stream. "I love my brother, I really do. But sometimes you've gotta face the choices you make. Pop's going hard for him, but I just hope this don't break us even more." His honesty struck a chord with viewers. Some praising him for being level-headed, others accusing him of betraying King during his darkest moment. Inside prison, King was wrestling with his own demons. Every night, he replayed his father's fiery speech in court. Part of him felt proud that his dad was willing to risk it all for him. Another part felt guilty, wondering if he had dragged the whole family into chaos they didn't deserve. During one tense visit, King leaned closer to T and said, "Pops, what if I don't make it out of this? What if they really trying to keep me in here forever?" T grabbed his hand firmly. "Don't you talk like that. They want us to give up, to believe they stronger than us." But they not. I'm gone. Tear down every door, break every wall if I got to. You coming home, son. You hear me? You coming home. But while T promised, strength cracks were beginning to show. Whispers began circulating that certain people close to the family were cutting secret deals with the prosecution. Bloggers claimed a close friend of the family had turned over evidence to save their own skin. Though no names were confirmed, the rumors spread like wildfire. When Tiny confronted T about it, her voice trembled. Tip, what if it's somebody we know? What if they selling us out to protect themselves? T narrowed his eyes, pacing back and forth. If I find out anybody turned on us, I swear they've gone regret it. Loyalty mean everything. And if somebody breaking that, they ain't family no more. Meanwhile, fans online continued fueling the drama. Some were convinced the judge had a personal vendetta against T, bringing up old interviews and past controversies. Others claimed King's case was being exaggerated to make an example out of celebrity kids. Conspiracy theories ran wild, each one more dramatic than the last. And then came the twist nobody saw coming. During an emergency family meeting, an anonymous letter was slipped under the front door of the Harris home. It was short, messy handwriting, unsigned. But its words sent shockwaves through the room. Someone close to you is working with them. Trust no one. Tiny gasped as she read it out loud, her hands trembling. The room fell silent. Everyone's eyes darted around, suspicion filling the air. For the first time, the fight for King's freedom wasn't just against the system, it was against betrayal from within. The accusations started flying. Who'd been talking to the press? T demanded, his voice rising. Who'd been feeding them stories they shouldn't know? Zanik protested, "Don't look at me, Daddy. I said what I said online, but I would never sell us out." Domani added, "Man, this whole house been full of cameras since forever. Maybe it's not even one of us. Maybe it's someone outside, but the damage was done." Suspicion had already planted itself deep in the family's foundation as the night wore on. T sat alone in his studio, staring at old photos of King as a little boy. His chest ached with the weight of it all. "They not gone win," he whispered to himself, almost like a prayer. "They can't take my boy." Yet outside, the storm was growing fiercer. The media was circling like vultures, blogs were posting every rumor. And the anonymous letter was proof that someone, somewhere, was working against them. The fight for King's freedom had started as a battle against the courts. Now it was a war on all fronts against the system, the press, and possibly even someone within their own circle. And as T prepared for the next hearing, he knew one thing for sure. This was bigger than just a legal fight. It was about survival, loyalty, and the very soul of his family. But what he didn't know was that the next court appearance would bring a shocking twist, one that would change everything again and leave the family even more divided than before. The day of the next court hearing arrived, and Atlanta felt like it was holding its breath. Reporters crowded the courthouse steps. Fans stood behind barricades, chanting King's name, and the flashing of cameras lit up the gray morning sky like fireworks. Inside, the Harris family sat together, but the tension between them was impossible to ignore. The anonymous letter from days earlier still haunted them. Whispers of betrayal lingered in every look, every sigh. Every silence. T entered the courtroom with his jaw clenched and his fists balled, his presence commanding attention. Tiny clutched her purse tightly, praying silently under her breath. King was brought in wearing his prison jumpsuit, and the sight alone broke Tiny's heart. She reached for T's hand, but he pulled away, his focus locked on the judge's bench. The prosecution wasted no time. They announced that new evidence had surfaced, damning evidence that painted King as a repeat offender who needed to be made an example of. The courtroom erupted in gasps. Tiny's eyes widened as she turned to T. How? Where did this even come from? She whispered. T stood up instantly, fury radiating off him. That's a lie. Somebody planted that? Y'all doing whatever it takes to keep my boy locked up. And I ain't having it. The judge banged the gavel, demanding order. But the damage was already done. The atmosphere shifted from tense to explosive. The new evidence felt like the betrayal hinted at in the letter, and T's eyes darted around the room, scanning every face as if the traitor would suddenly reveal themselves. King sat slouched, shaking his head. "Man, this some bull. They trying to bury me, Pops. I told you." Tiny leaned closer to her son, tears threatening to spill. "Baby, don't give up. We here. We fighting." But inside she felt the sting of doubt. Someone somewhere was feeding the prosecution ammunition. And it was tearing her apart, not knowing who it was. As the court adjourned for the day, chaos spilled outside. Reporters swarmed T, shouting questions. "Mr. Harris, is it true someone close to you is working with the prosecution? Do you know who betrayed your family?" T pushed past them, his expression thunderous, refusing to give them the satisfaction of a soundbite. Back at the Harris home, the arguments resumed. Sonique raised her voice first, something rare for her. "Y'all keep looking at us kids like we did something. But maybe it's one of your so-called friends. Daddy?" "You trust too many people," Damani added. "She right. You got folks in and out of this house every day. Not everybody's here for family." T's face twisted with frustration. "So y'all saying this on me now? Like I let snakes crawl in?" "Nah, don't put that on me. This family's supposed to be united." Tiny slammed her hands on the table, her voice breaking. "United? Look at us, Tip. We tearing each other apart while King is sitting in a cell, scared and alone. This ain't unity. This is destruction." The room went quiet. No one had the strength to argue after that. Meanwhile, rumors online exploded. One blog claimed it was a cousin who flipped on the family. Another swore it was a business partner of T's. Hashtags like #FreeKing and #betrayal in the family trended simultaneously. Fans dissecting every clue like detectives in a crime show. In the middle of the storm, King himself tried to stay strong. During another visit, he told T-Pops, "Maybe you should stop going at them so hard. Maybe the more you fight, the worse they come for me." T shook his head fiercely. "Nah, son. That's what they want to break me down so I stop fighting. I ain't built like that. You my blood and I ain't ever letting go." But King wasn't convinced. "I just don't want you and Mama tearing each other up 'cause of me. I hear y'all fighting every time she'll come see me. If I gotta sit in here, then don't let them take the whole family too." Those words pierced T deeper than any accusation from a courtroom ever could. And then came this shocking twist. A leaked audio clip hit the internet late one night, shaking the Harris family to its core. In the clip, a voice that sounded eerily like someone close to the family was heard discussing details of King's case with an unknown caller. The voice said things only an insider could know. Fans shared it instantly, the clip going viral in minutes. Tiny listened to it on her phone, her hands trembling. "Oh my God. Tip, this sounds like someone we know." T grabbed the phone, replaying the audio over and over. His face hardened. "I know that voice." The room went silent. All eyes were on T, waiting for him to reveal who he thought it was. But instead, he stormed out of the house, slamming the door behind him. The mystery had just deepened, and the family was left shaken to their core. Who had betrayed them? Why would someone so close feed the prosecution? And what would happen when T confronted them? The battle for King's freedom was no longer just about fighting the system. It was about exposing a traitor in their midst. And T, fueled by rage and love for his son, was ready to burn bridges to uncover the truth. But what he didn't know was that the confrontation ahead would not only reveal the betrayer, it would split the family in ways that might never be repaired. The storm was only getting darker, and the next move could decide everything. The leaked audio clip had changed everything. Overnight, the Harris family's already fragile world cracked wide open. T was pacing the driveway, the phone still clutched in his hand, replaying the voice over and over. The sound of betrayal rang in his ears like a siren. Tiny tried to calm him, but her own hand shook with fear. "Tip, please. Don't do anything crazy. Think about King. Think about the family," she pleaded. But T's mind was already made up. They crossed the line, Tiny. Somebody close to us chose them over us. And I'm gone, find out who. The next day, T called a family meeting at the house. Every sibling, every relative who had been near the case, sat nervously in the living room. The atmosphere was suffocating, heavy with suspicion. T stood at the front, his voice low but seething with intensity. Somebody here been talking? Somebody here feeding them details they couldn't have known otherwise. And I ain't leaving this room till we figure out who it is. The room fell into silence. Zanik crossed her arms, glaring at the floor. Domani shifted uncomfortably. Cousins avoided eye contact, tension radiating in waves. Finally, one of the younger relatives blurted, "Uncle Tip, you really think one of us would do that? We family." T snapped back. Family don't stab each other in the back. Family don't sell each other out for a deal. His words cut sharp, echoing off the walls. Tiny stepped in, her voice trembling. "Tip, please don't turn this into a war inside our own house. We're hurting enough as it is, but the damage was already done." Suspicions turned into accusations. Zanik raised her voice, something rare for her. "Maybe if you stopped trusting everyone who smiles in your face, Daddy, we wouldn't even be in this mess. You think everybody your friend. Look where it got us," Domani added. And maybe if King stopped doing half the reckless stuff he was doing, they wouldn't have had so much to use against him. Instantly, the room erupted. Tiny gasped. "Don't you dare blame your brother for this. He's paying more than enough already." Domani threw up his hands. "I'm just saying what nobody else want to say. We all hurting, but we can't act like he didn't play a part." King's younger siblings started crying, overwhelmed by the shouting. The family, once known for unity and strength, now looked like strangers tearing each other apart. Meanwhile, T slipped away quietly, heading to confront the person he suspected from the audio clip. He drove across town, his mind racing, his heart pounding. When he arrived at the door of an old friend turned associate, he didn't bother knocking, he barged straight in. The man jumped up, startled. "Tip, what the hell you doing here?" T's voice was low, but laced with fury. "You know why I'm here? That voice on the tape. It's yours." The man's face paled. "Nah, that ain't me. I don't know what you talking about, but T wasn't buying it. Don't play me like I'm stupid. I trusted you around my family, around my son. And you sold us out." The confrontation grew heated, voices rising, fists clenching. Finally, the man cracked under the pressure, admitting he had shared information with the prosecution in exchange for protection in his own legal troubles. "I didn't have a choice. Tip, they had me cornered. It was either me or y'all." T's entire body trembled with rage. "So you chose yourself over my son, over my family, after everything we've been through." The man tried to defend himself, but T stormed out before he could finish. His betrayal confirmed. Back home, T revealed the truth to Tiny. Her face fell, tears streaming down her cheeks. "So it was real. The letter, the tape, everything. I can't believe someone so close could do this to us." T pulled her into his arms, his voice breaking. "I swear, Tiny, I ain't letting them win. Not the system, not the snakes, not nobody. I'ma bring King home no matter what it takes." The next court hearing arrived, and this time, T came prepared. With the help of his legal team, he exposed the betrayal, showing how evidence had been tampered with and fed by someone under pressure. The courtroom was stunned. The prosecution stumbled, their credibility shaken. King looked over at his father with wide eyes, a glimmer of hope returning to his face. Tiny squeezed T's hand as the judge ordered a review of the new revelations. It wasn't freedom yet, but it was a step forward. The family walked out of the courthouse together, the cameras flashing, fans chanting louder than ever. Outside, T addressed the crowd. His voice carried both strength and exhaustion. "They tried to break us. They tried to turn us against each other. But we still here, and we still fighting. My son, gone, come home, and when he do, we gone. Be stronger than ever." The crowd roared, but behind the scenes, the scars remained. Betrayal had cut deep, and trust inside the family wasn't easily mended. Damani avoided eye contact with his siblings. Zonique stayed quiet, her earlier words hanging in the air. Tiny, though relieved, still carried the weight of sleepless nights. King, back in his cell, replayed his father's speech in his head. For the first time, he truly understood the cost of loyalty, the price of fame, and the weight of family. The battle wasn't over, but a new chapter had begun. And while the Harris family had survived the worst storm yet, the question still lingered when King finally walked free. Would the family he returned to be whole or forever, fractured by the drama that nearly destroyed them? As the dust settles on this explosive chapter of the Harris family story, one thing is certain: this fight is far from over. The courtroom may have shaken with T's rage. The betrayal may have ripped through the family's trust. And King may still be behind bars, but the flames of determination continue to burn. Through every tear Tiny cried, through every word of doubt from his siblings, and through every headline twisting the truth, T stood tall, refusing to let the system or the snakes lurking in the shadows decide his son's future paths are still divided. Some say King needs to take full responsibility, while others believe the justice system has targeted him unfairly. Social media continues to buzz with speculation. Conspiracy theories and outpourings of love. The family is holding on, bruised but unbroken, clinging to the hope that King will return home stronger, wiser, and ready to face the world again. But the biggest question remains: will this battle reunite the Harrises? Or will the scars of betrayal leave them forever divided? Only time will tell. And now, we want to hear from you. Do you think T is doing the right thing by fighting the system head-on? Or should he step back and let the process play out? Do you believe King deserves another chance? Or are the consequences a lesson he needs to learn the hard way? Your voice matters in this conversation. Because this isn't just about one family, it's about how far any parent would go to protect their child. So if you were hooked by this roller coaster of drama, hit that like button, smash subscribe so you never miss an update, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. This story is still unfolding, and trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next.